Hey, what's up?
Hey, this guy just told me until he takes a break at 10, so I think we're good to go.
Cool.
Yeah, it shouldn't be an issue.
All right. Awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Welcome in. Thank you all for joining us. We're just going to give people here a second to join. Just give people a few more seconds to pop in, then we will get started. All right. Well, as I said, thank you all for joining us today. My name is Joe Canova. I'm going to be running through kind of a high-level overview of the software, the ways that you can take advantage of it as both a regular user or a manager, a CEO, and all the kind of different levels and nuances of ownership of things that you have with those different capabilities. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So just for the new folks on the call, as to the question of what exactly is Align. Align is a strategic growth tool that allows you to track your company's communication and strategy and execution of that strategy. The software helps to create good business habits, and it makes your long-term strategy come alive in day-to-day work that empowers every member of the team to think strategically every day. So today's agenda, in terms of what we will cover, is what you will see when you first log into Align. So that's what we have right here. And we're going to go through this first, this being the My Dashboard. Then we're going to go over to the company dashboard, and then we are going to progress into huddles, which is our meeting cadence, priorities, the help and FAQ page, and then we'll talk a little bit about admin features specifically, that being this tab right here. If at any point anybody has any questions, they should feel free to come off mute and interrupt me, ask away. So without further ado, here we are on the My Dashboard. So the My Dashboard is going to be specific to every individual user of the company. That meaning you can basically edit it to see things in whatever order that you feel works best for your workflow and what you're using Align for. So if the first thing that you want to see when you log into Align every day is the critical numbers of the company, well, then we can have critical numbers situated right at the top of the My Dashboard. Then we can kind of organize things into descending order as to their importance, maybe to your day-to-day work, or maybe just to how you like to see things. So how I have this set up in this sandbox, which is just a mock account, I have it set up so that my what's up and my tasks, so the tasks that I'm individually responsible for, are populated right underneath my critical numbers. So for all of you asking what's a what's up and what's an all hands on deck, well, that relates to this huddles feature right here. So instead of necessarily having to go all the way into my huddle to write my update first thing in the morning, what I can do is I can just fill it out right from the My Dashboard. Same thing with my tasks, right? So my tasks can also be found under action items, but I can situate the My Dashboard so that I don't have to really navigate to anywhere else within the software in order to get to where I'm trying to go. Oh, looks like I've been logged out. So give me 1 second here. All right, we're back. So underneath that, I have the My KPI section. So the My KPIs, they relate to the critical numbers in the sense that it's what's important for me to be keeping an eye on in terms of either the team as a whole or maybe a number that I'm specifically responsible for. But my KPIs or rather KPIs as a concept and critical numbers differ in the sense that you can only have 5 critical numbers, but you can have essentially an unlimited amount of KPIs. And KPIs, unlike critical numbers, can be made out of things like priorities. So as you see, there's a different system of measurement here than there is for something like 15 opportunities. That's because this is specifically pulling from a priority. So it's just giving me a snapshot look as to the health of that. If you keep going down, you see I have the My Priorities overview. So this is just kind of once again giving me a snapshot look as to how I'm progressing in my priorities, the things I'm doing to help push my company's critical numbers and help push my different KPIs. So if I wanted to change the order of this at any point, what I could do is just come right here and hit the edit button. So if I do that, that's going to not only let me mix up what's already here, but it's going to let me add new components to the dashboard as well. So that's anything from announcements to more KPI sections, right? So I can have a KPI section for myself. I could have a KPI section for my marketing team or my sales team if I was a manager here and I wanted to kind of track different departments' KPIs and have them organized in kind of their own specific rows within the My Dashboard. Things like stocks, top priorities, and top tasks. I'm going to leave this how this is for now, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move my tasks to the top. First thing I'm interested in when I come into Align is what do I have assigned to me that is due today that I need to make a priority to get done. Underneath that, I'm going to have my what's up, and then I'm going to actually drag my KPIs. So once I'm happy with how this is, and let's say I even wanted to get rid of one, I wanted to get rid of, say, critical numbers even. Well, then I could go ahead and hit save. And now we're going to see that the organization of this has changed to be more sort of prioritized to what I value seeing first thing in the morning. So now when I log in, this would be the first thing that populates at the top of my dashboard. And you can expand and contract these individual segments by hitting this icon right here. If anyone has any questions, just to say that again, feel free to come off mute and ask away. So progressing on to the company dashboard. Now the company dashboard is not
Hey,
going to be
Joe?
yep,
I have a question.
yes,
So,
yes, Paul.
where do we, maybe we're gonna go over this later, but where do we input the data that drives the dashboard and how it looks?
Okay, so is that kind of a question as to how would I actually say make a KPI card or how would I edit a critical number that
Yeah, how do
so
you, yeah, if it's your first time in, how do you create your very first KPI card? Let's just go with that.
absolutely. Yeah, that's a great question. So if I wanted to do that directly from the My Dashboard, I could come into the My KPI section, right? And I could hit this pencil icon right here. So if I hover over, it's going to say Edit My KPIs. So I can hit that and it's going to bring me to this pop-out screen right here. Well, in this pop-out, I can select numbers that are already existing within the software. See this number right here is a critical number. The icon is going to kind of tell me what it is. This is a metric and this is a priority. So if I wanted to add one of these, I could just click this icon. But if I wanted to add a completely new number, right, a completely new KPI that I wanted to track for myself, I could hit add metric right here. And then I can say something like sales calls per week. Right. And I'm going to say sales calls per week because the cool thing about KPIs is that since they use these metrics, in kind of a different way than critical numbers do, you can actually set a cadence that is a little bit more specific. So you can set a cadence, unlike a critical number, which operates on a 3-month scale. You can set it for either a weekly or a monthly scale. So for this one, since I called it sales calls per week, I'm actually going to set the cadence to weekly, and I'm going to put a reset value of 0 on a Sunday. So then if I want to say my current value is 20, or even 0, I can just hit save, and now I've created that KPI for myself. So if I hit save here, we're going to see that pop up. So as you notice, this card looks more like this than it does like this or like that. So the reason that is because I've just, in a very basic sense, added it as a, fundamental kind of KPI card. So now what I would need to do is hit these 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner. I need to hit edit, and now I'm going to be able to set my target options right here. So now I'm going to be able to come in and say, all right, well, for sales calls per week, I want to hit 35, right? And I'm actually going to say my current value is 15. So now I've created this card for myself. I've set it on a weekly cadence, and I've got my target, and I've got my number, my current value. And I'm operating this on a I'm using a time-based progress calculation, which essentially is where you're going to have your current value, you're going to have your target value, and instead of you coming in and setting the custom targets as to red, yellow, and green, the system itself is going to say, okay, what's your current value? What's your target, and how much time do you have to bridge that gap between them? And according to that estimation, it's going to set these different parameters for what is considered, red, meaning you're unlikely to hit the target, yellow, which means you're kind of teetering between unlikely to hit it, and green, which is you're on track. So I'm at 15. My target is 35. It's only Tuesday, so the software is saying that I'm in the green.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, absolutely. So, and I'll show now for actually critical numbers too here on the company dashboard. So on the company dashboard, it's a little bit different than say the My dashboard, in the sense that people who are not admins are not going to be able to come in here and edit this dashboard. This dashboard is strictly for people who are admins. So if you're not an admin, you're going to know, because you're not going to see this administration tab at the top, and you're not going to have one of these pencil icons next to the critical numbers. Where I'm an admin in the system, I can come in and I can organize this company dashboard to be presented in a way that I feel comfortable with everyone in my company coming in and seeing. So I want it set up in a way that it gives people sort of a breakdown view of where we are in a line and where we are in terms of our targets and our priorities as I see fit. So I can go ahead and make a critical number here. It's a very similar process to the KPI. So I would hit that pencil icon. Now you see it brings me to a pop out. And I can just go ahead and hit this button down here that says add another. So now my critical number, I'll stick with sales calls. And I'll make myself the owner of it. Every critical number should have an owner. That's a best practice thing, just in terms of accountability. And for this one, I'm actually going to make custom targets. So since I'm looking at this on a period scale, if my weekly target is, 35, then I have pretty high expectations in the 3-month time, how many sales calls we're going to make. So let's say somewhere around 500, 475. Okay, and I'll say my current value is 250. So now I've created a sales calls critical number card, and I've set the parameters for what's off target, what's teetering, what's kind of in limbo, what's green, and then what's this evergreen color, which means we absolutely crushed it. We went above and beyond our target of 475. So anytime you'd like to update a number, what you can do is you don't have to click these three dots and hit edit. You can actually just edit it directly from this screen. So you can come in here and change this to say 300. And it's going to keep me in the red. But if I, had a really good day and I was actually at 425, now you can see it bumps me to the yellow. What this is also going to do, and this works with the KPI cards too, is it's going to build me a historical graph just throughout time of where this target has been. So what my current value has been as I, go in pursuit of my target value. So here it's showing me as of January 30th, 2024, I was at 425. If I want to add a past update, I can do that. And say on Wednesday, January 3rd, I was at 300. And now we can see this graph adjust accordingly. So underneath the critical numbers, I have the company priority insights. So this is showing me a heat map as to the health of my priority week over week. It has these gear icons right next to it, so I can actually go in and edit it at any point. Underneath that, I have my company KPIs. So these are looking at kind of the KPIs on a generic company scale. As I said, I can rename this, or I could break it into separate units using the edit function. So right here, if I wanted to change this, to marketing KPIs, that's completely within reach, only as an admin though. So company ENPS, that's really a internal survey that goes out to members of your team and asks them to basically say how happy they are at the company on a scale of 1 to 10. So as I said, if I want to change anything about this, if I actually want to bring up company KPIs to here, maybe I want to get rid of ENPS and I want to get rid of alignment index. I just want to keep this company dashboard really streamlined. Well, then I can make it like this. I can expand and contract that as well. So moving on to the huddles function within Align, there are a few different ways to access your huddles. And by that, I mean kind of just view them as a whole. That really depends on whether you are an admin or whether you are an individual user. So at first, I will show it kind of from the individual user perspective, which means you just come right here onto the left-hand navigation, and any huddle that you are invited to would then populate within this bust out. Now, if you are not invited to a huddle, then it's not going to show up here. It might still exist within the system, but you're not going to really see, me and Mark's one-on-one, for example, right? So if today is the day of my sales huddle, because I have this every weekday and it tells me the cadence right below it, what I can do is I can just click right into this. And it is going to take me right to my huddle dashboard. So from within this huddle, I can get a pretty succinct view of, okay, what's my agenda today? And if I own this huddle, I can come in and I can actually edit it. So I can add a section. Right. I can have a description. So what's the purpose? I also have a Zoom link right here in case, maybe a day of the week we all meet virtually. Up at the top, I have tagged priorities. So as you see right here, I've built this tag called sales for this huddle. These priorities right here are also tagged with sales so that way Align knows to pull them directly into my huddle. So additionally, underneath the tag priorities, I have the critical numbers for the company as a whole. We see sales calls, that new one I just made being pulled in. And then I also have 3 critical numbers that are specific for sales. So whenever you create a huddle, it's also going to create what we call a team. So a huddle as a team, once it is a team, you'd have to make it that way. You have the ability to set up critical numbers for it specifically. And there's some other kind of specific features, specific allowances that come with something being a team, which we will get into a little bit later. So right here, this is all data that's being pulled in from another part of the software, right? So this is being pulled in from my priorities page, and this is being pulled in from my dashboard. Underneath that, this is what we call the individual configuration, and you'll see that when we get into settings in just a second here. But this is where you can come in and you can fill out a specific update. So what's up? So today, congrats to Jane on closing the CB&E account. She put in a lot of hard work on this project, right? So this is kind of both, a recap of maybe, saying what has happened earlier in the day or saying what happened last night, as well as kind of just explaining to people or giving people an overview of what you're working on today. So, putting people in touch with each other's workflow. Underneath that, I have a top priority. So schedule a survey meeting with Lucy. And then I have tasks that have been associated with this huddle. I have a list of stuck items. So stucks are specifically when you need someone's help in terms of moving forward in something. So you essentially assign a stuck to them. And that's just kind of something that travels with the huddles too. So it's once again kind of promoting that accountability aspect as well as that communication aspect of you're talking about the things that need to be done, and you're keeping people accountable for making sure that they are done because it's right in front of their face every day within these different meetings. Underneath that, I have a personal priority, which is identify 30 opportunities from Smithco. So this is a personal priority that's being tagged in at the bottom versus these, which are priorities for myself, but also for each different member of my team, my sales team. So if I wanted to go over here and I wanted to see what James's update was for today or what his top priority was, I would just need to click on his name card in this right-hand navigation. So by doing that, it's actually going to tell me what my different team members, what their update was, what their what's up was, and what their top priority was. So if I miss this huddle, or if I want to go back in time, if I want to go to Monday and I want to see what James was talking about, well, then I can just use this navigation up here to go back and I can just click on his name card. And if he had filled this out, then it would be right here for me. So Align, these huddles, they're going to store every update that you give. It's basically going to freeze it within this time slot of Friday, January 6th, or whatever the day is. And it's going to stay there and allow you to view that as you go back in time. So it's creating a historical repository for all your different meeting notes that you can kind of judge or look at and say, what were we talking about during this week? Was that working? Were those conversations helpful? So on and so forth. So right here is the huddle's settings. So if I click that, if I'm the owner of this huddle, I would have access to this. And I would be able to come in. I could call this Sales Daily if I wanted to. I can edit the name. I can add a video conference link, edit the start and end time. And this is where I'm coming in and I'm giving this a tag. So if I wanted this to be management, I could create a management tag and use that to, oh, it's getting a little angry with me right now. Give me 1 second. I create a management tag and then I want to create a sales tag. I could do that if I wanted to, but I'm actually just going to keep this as sales for now. Underneath that, I can add and remove users as necessary or as I see fit. So if Tom isn't in this huddle anymore, maybe he's transferred teams, I can go ahead and I can remove him. When I do that, it is going to clear his data from the huddle. So that's one important thing just to keep in mind. So I'm actually going to keep Tom in here because I don't want to erase the updates that he's given in the past, at least not right now. Maybe at the start of the new quarter, then I can remove Tom. But Mark just came to our team in place of Tom, so I'm actually going to add him to this huddle. So underneath, it's going to give you the option to set the agenda from directly within this team configuration as well. And then we have that section order. So then we have that area that is pulling in from other parts of the software, like your critical numbers and like your priorities. Parking lot is something where you can really just store ideas. Now I could even name this something silly like idea container, right? If I wanted to. Who, what, when. This is an interesting feature that we've just rolled out recently. I can turn this on and actually just go over it briefly. If this is something you're interested in learning more about, I highly suggest you check out our FAQs or our Academy page, or even come to Ask Align, which is later on today, I believe. So I can edit this order as I see fit, right? Just about everything in here is very flexible. So I can move company critical numbers to the top. I can move team critical numbers right below that. Then I'm actually going to put in who, what, when right here. And this is really who, what, when, just to kind of spoil the fun, is this is really it gives you the ability to add tasks from directly within a huddle. So if I wanted to, make that a little bit clearer, I could change the name of who, what, when if I wanted to, just by clicking on it, and I could change this to action items. So if I don't want something like this idea container, this parking lot, then I can just check it off and it's not going to show up anymore. Maybe in its place, I want to add a new section. So I just hit this plus icon here and I go ahead and I'd say add KPI. So I'm going to call this one sales KPIs. I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to drag this to the top. So if you remember when we were editing that agenda earlier, one thing that I changed was I added a section called sales pipeline updates. So I want this individual configuration now to reflect the change that I made in my agenda. It's not just this is just kind of a catch-up call anymore in terms of where we give kind of a generic what's up in terms of, state of the team, individual workflow. Right now, I want to create a specific section that asks people a specific question that I'm looking for them to fill out. Ideally, like the rest of these things, 5 to 10 minutes before the huddle, so that we can all come prepared. So like I did before when I added that KPI section, I'm going to hit this plus icon and it's going to give me a box down here. And I'm going to call this one sales pipeline updates. Turn it on. And I'm going to drag it to right under my what's up section. Now I'm going to hit save. So now we see I have that new KPI section that if I wanted to, I could click add. And I could pull in something like average contract value, right? And now right here, I have this new section, action items. So if I needed to tell James, send Excel sheet by EOD Thursday, I could assign this directly to him. Maybe this is something that came up in our meeting. So I can assign this task to him, give it a name, and then of course, pick a specific due date. I'm just going to check that on. So now, as you can see too, we're actually in James's huddle. But if I come to mine, you see I have this new section now, sales pipeline updates. So now I can say, right, something like that. So if I wanted to view all of the different huddles within the system from the admin perspective, what I could do is come right here to the top of my screen and hit the administration tab and actually go to manage huddles. So from within manage huddles, it kind of breaks it out for me nice and succinctly. It kind of gives me the manage daily huddles, which is going to present all of those to me. And then it's going to present the weekly and monthly huddles that I have as well. We're going to see these little tags appear next to each and every one of them that has them. So that lets me just kind of come in really quickly and edit it if I want to. So, maybe this ends at 6 now. Okay, save. And it also lets me pretty easily just fire up a new huddle. So to add a new huddle, you can either hit new huddle from template, or even without coming to the administration tab and going to manage huddles, you can also hit this orange plus icon right here and hit huddle. I'm going to do it from this administration tab though. I'm going to hit new huddle from template. So when I do that, it gives me a few different template options to choose from, that being daily, weekly, monthly, or one-on-one. I'm going to choose weekly. I'm going to say this one is marketing meeting. Say it's weekly on a Tuesday. It starts at 9 a.m. Ends at 9:45. It's on Central Time. Make this tag. I'm going to add some team members. Then I can add an agenda and I can go through all these different steps that we just did. And when I'm done, I'll hit save and it's going to immediately bring me to my new marketing meeting. And at any point in time, I can come back in here, I can hit huddle settings and I can edit every single aspect of this huddle. So if anyone has any questions, of course, about anything that they saw there, anything about the specific breakdown of the sections or how to navigate to this, please feel free to come off mute and ask away. All right, if no one has anything, I will go ahead and keep us moving on to the next section, which is the priorities page. So the priorities page, this is basically the link between your strategic plan and your day-to-day work. They're the actions that you and your team are taking to achieve your larger overarching goals. Generally, we suggest that you set these priorities within 3 months or 1 business quarter. So kind of some examples here of critical numbers. Something like number 1 thing, create a culture of transparency. This is what we're calling a company priority. So this is something that everyone in the company should have an eye on, and maybe everyone in the company even has a priority related to it, sort of what we call child priorities. And underneath these are more one-off priorities. So as you see, there's a few different ways of tracking the progress. So the first way would be KPI, which we also call numeric. So this is when the priority that you're planning on undertaking has a very specific sort of numeric target attached to it. So for this one, it's pretty clear, right? 520 sales qualified marketing leads. So pretty clearly I have my target right there. And if I hover over, it's going to tell me, and then I have my current value of 302. And what it's telling me here is that I'm 58% of the way there, which it has deemed kind of hanging in that limbo of right between I'm on track to hit it and I'm not. Now, if I just click on the white part of this priority, it's going to break out into a graph So kind of like what we saw with the critical numbers and like we saw presented on the KPI cards as well. So this is going to give me a view of how I've progressed on this priority throughout the quarter. It's also going to give me a heat map. So it's going to say I was yellow at first, then I got really into the danger zone, but now I've rebounded and I'm back in the yellow. So as you see here with this caret, this kind of nests these priorities together. So it just ties them together in terms of, in order to create 520 sales qualified marketing leads, some of the sub priorities that need to be accomplished in order to actually drive this number of 520 is I need one of my colleagues to write a 4-part blog series to generate 200 leads. I need another one of my colleagues to host 8 webinars to generate 200 leads, and then write 3 white papers to generate 100 leads. So each one of these priorities, it's sort of all nested together, but the completion of these, the percentage of these, has no real effect on this number right here, right? This is just a way for me mentally to see how things are connecting within the software, or sorry, within my team, and sort of just see or have an understanding of what needs to get done in order to move the needle on kind of this bigger goal of these 520 sales qualified marketing leads, or this company priority, right? So these are what are basically aiding in me hitting this number right here in achieving this company priority. So outside of the KPI or the numeric value is the task-driven priority. So task-driven priorities, although we have this numeric number right here, right? I'm trying to generate 200 leads. The main purpose of this priority is to write a 4-part blog series. So that to me reads more as something that is going to be achieved by completing a set number of action items here, right? This is going to be achieved. This is going to be, the success of this is measured by me completing this 4-part blog series. So that's why I have 4 tasks here, each of these tasks being 1 part of the blog series. So underneath here, we have kind of the same situation where we have a KPI driven priority, but underneath it, we have sort of these sub priorities that all need to be completed in order for me to make sure that I'm hitting this increase in sales. So I kind of have a mix of both KPI, numeric driven, and task driven priorities.
Hey, Joe.
Yes, Paul?
If you go back to that KPI one and you use that drop down,
This
that
one right here?
520, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, first I noticed you'll never get to 100% because you only have 500 throughout 200, 200, and 100 equal 500, not 520. But let's say that the 4-part blog series created 250 leads. Does that track in? Because whoever's doing that is going to go in and put 250. So does it give that overage and track that? So that maybe next time you can say, well, no, if I do 4, I can expect I'm going to track for 275. Does it track that?
So I think something like that would really need to be established as a KPI. So right here, we're just looking at the completion of this 4-part blog series. That's really what matters to us
Okay,
within this
gotcha.
priority. So what I could do is I could make a KPI card that says leads generated from 4-part blog series, right? And I could set my target at 200. And then I could just progressively update that throughout the quarter as I'm also updating these tasks. So that way I see at the end of the 3-month period, or, if I roll this priority into the next one, that over those, 90 days, I actually generated 220 or 260 or however many. So that would be kind of, that's a great question. And that's, I think, the way that you would want to go about doing that.
Oh, great. Thanks.
Absolutely. So we also have these roll-up priorities here. And so a roll-up priority is different than what we've been seeing in this other kind of parent, right? This is the parent and this is the child, this other strategy. We are kind of more interested now in how each one of these priorities, how its completion actually determines the overall completion of this culture of transparency. So what's different specifically is that as each one of these progresses in completion, so does this, right? So progress is determined by the average completion percent of its child priorities. So as I'm going through and I'm, having my 20 one-on-ones or I'm hosting my bi-monthly employee social events, as I'm doing that, this number right here is changing. Just once again, to reiterate, unlike something like increased sales by quarter, where as I put together a report of current customers or speak with 20 previous clients, updating these and completing these has no real impact on this unless I'm going in and I'm actually editing it at the same time. But it's never going to, correspond or roll up, as the title suggests. So to add a priority, it's going to be real simple right at the top of our screen, or we can kind of use that shorthand quick navigation that I showed you earlier with the huddles. And we can come right here and hit add priority. So the first priority that I am going to set up is actually going to be a number or a numeric priority. So I'm going to come right here and I'm going to say 1,500 sales calls. Very sales oriented day for me. I'm going to set my target as you guessed it, 1,500. I'm going to make sure that this success measurement is right. And then I'm going to come down here and I have two options in terms of color status, which is, you could guess either red, yellow, or green. So I can have it be calculated, which is essentially where the system is saying, what's your current value? What's your target? How much time do you have to, eclipse your target or meet it? So what we're going to do here is we're actually going to make this user driven, which means that I can come in and I can say personally how I feel about the health of this priority. So whether I feel concerned, good, great, or bad. I also have this little bracket right here, advanced. This is where I can make this a company priority, which as you see is automatically going to turn the visibility to everyone. Or if I check it off, I can come and I can actually make it to selected teams. So maybe I only want my sales team to see this priority. So I'm going to set the visibility strictly for them. Next, I'm going to add my sales tag. So this pulls into my sales priority nicely. And then if I want to, I can add related tasks. So if I add any related tasks to this, the completion of them is not going to change either the color status, if I had it as calculated, or my progression towards the target, right? The success measurement is strictly numeric. So my related tasks are really just to help me. So if I wanted to, I could add them. I'm actually just going to keep it as is. I'm going to hit save. And so now I've got my priority right down here. You see this, it says secure next to it. That's how I know that I set it specifically for my team. And then if I wanted to, I could come in here and I could hit edit. And I would be able to change my current value. Maybe I'm at 800, save. So now I have a percentage complete and my graph and my heat map begins to be built. Now, if I had added tasks to this, they'd pop up right down here and they'd say just related tasks, and I'd be able to view them right there. So moving on, Well, first things first, does anyone have any questions on what they saw from that whole organization of a number priority? There's no questions. I will go ahead and move us right on to our next priority, which we are going to now make task driven. So here, this one, I'm going to call it revamp marketing strategy, getting away from sales for the time being. I'm going to add in a related task. I'm going to say this one is going to be hire a graphic designer. I'm going to make the due date the end of February, say the 26th. And I can assign this to myself. That's if I make a task, it's going to automatically make it assigned to me. But if I'm actually looking to assign this to someone else, what I can do is I can take my name off of it and I can assign it to Jane. Or as you see here, all users or all admins. Can even add it to James as well. You can assign a task to as many or as few people as you need. So because I have that who, what, when section turned on too, I can go ahead and I can actually click this, which says align to a huddle. So that means that this priority is now going to be pulled into my sales huddle or my marketing daily huddle, whichever one that it corresponds to, that I choose it to correspond to. So because this is a marketing task, I'm going to assign it to my marketing meeting. I'm going to keep the visibility as everyone, and I'm actually going to hire a note that says, use right. So now I can hit save. Now, this right here, this is telling me, okay, who was it created by and who was it assigned to? So on the left-hand side, you have who was assigned to. On the right-hand side, you have who was created by. And right here, this little note icon, if you hover over it, it's going to tell me what I wrote there. It's going to remind me. So I can add as many tasks as I want here, right? So maybe now for this one, I want to say, buy 400 Facebook ads. I'm actually going to make this one overdue. I'm going to keep it assigned to myself. And I'm going to align it to my marketing meeting again. All right, so now since that's overdue, we see it pop up in red here. Now I can do the same thing. I can open the advanced drawer and I can tag this if I see fit to a marketing huddle. So now I can go ahead and hit save. So now I have my new priority down here, revamp marketing strategy. If I click on the white part, it's going to open it up. It's going to show me my tag, and then it's going to show me my incomplete tasks. If there was, a laundry list of tasks here, it would say all tasks and say the number next to it, and I could just go ahead and hit it, and it's going to let me now add more tasks to this, as well as check ones that are done off. So if this is done, I'm going to check it off, and it's going to be highlighted in green here. I'm going to say done. So now I'm 50% of the way through with this. Any questions so far on anything that we have seen? All right. So now we're going to add that third type of priority, which is a roll up. So I'm going to call this one sell 1,000 units. Keep myself the owner of this one. Make it a roll up. So it's not going to tell me I need anything underneath it. It's going to give me two options here. I can just hit save, or I can hit save and add child. So I'm going to just hit save for now. I'm not going to have any data underneath it. And you see now it's just got this gray bar, right? Because there's nothing inside of it that's going to allow for its progress to be calculated, right? Because it has no child priorities attached to it. So now I actually want to pull this one right here. And then what I want to do, oh, hold on, I'm going to actually just say add child priority, kind of in hindsight here. I'm going to say all right. And so I can really quickly just make a child priority for this. And so now we see I've got that little caret right there. What I can also do is I can come in here and I can go to revamp marketing strategy and I can hit edit priority. And I can go down to the advanced section. And where it says parent priority, I can go ahead and just type right in sell 1,000 units. So now as you see, this progress calculation has changed. And now I have revamped marketing strategy attached to this roll-up priority. And I can do the same thing with my 1,500 sales calls. And now we see I'm actually at 34% completion. Okay. Any questions, just one more time on anything that you've seen from either the roll-up priorities, KPIs, or tasks, or even if you want me to jump back to another feature, I would be happy to. So as I kind of prefaced earlier, within this action items breakout, we have tasks. So if you're looking to use the line for task management, what you can do is actually come right into this action items breakout, come to tasks, and very easily hit new task at the top, fill it out, align it to a priority, align it to a huddle. So if I actually wanted to make a task here and call it, all right, I'm going to assign this to Lucy. I'm actually going to align this to the one that's called revamp marketing strategy. And so this is my task list. So it's not going to just populate the one that I just gave to Lucy. It's just going to show me what's assigned to me. If I wanted to go find that though, I could look up Lucy's name here at the top and see all the different tasks that she has been assigned. And you see right here on this right-hand side, it says align to. So anytime something is aligned to a priority, it's going to be this color and it's going to have kind of that squiggly arrow line. And if you align something to a huddle, it's going to be populated right underneath this align to section as well. So just to wrap up, I'm going to go quickly over the administration tab. So at the top, you have manage users. So that's where you can come in and you can add and remove users as well as turn on admin privileges for different users. And if they forget their password, that's what this trusty dusty icon right there is. We have manage huddles, which we went to earlier. We have company settings, right? So this is where you can come in and enable integrations, where you can manage your tags, SSO, so on and so forth. Company profile. This is if the company name of my company has changed. I can change it within here. I can say what business type I am. And then we have KPI listing. And we have managed subscription. In the top right-hand corner, we have the question mark. So this is the help and FAQs page. So this is really good for just quick how-tos. What is a priority? How do I add or enter a KPI, right? So adding a KPI to the My Dashboard, adding a KPI to the huddle, adding targets. Outside of that, we have this hyperlink right here, which is going to take you to the Align Academy. This is a great place to kind of read the white pages on Align, the bigger picture why. We have it on specific features. This is a great resource for learning more about priorities and really making sure those are as strong as they can be, as well as critical numbers, huddles, KPI cards, you name it. So this is a resource I really suggest everyone on the call today to check out. Next to it, we have the live learning opportunities, which it seems like you all are familiar with because you're here today. So what you can do, as you know, is follow that link right there at any time, though, from directly within the software and check out what we have upcoming, as well as add it to your calendar. And then finally, right where it says tour menu right here on your software, that's going to be a contact us button. So what you can do is go ahead and select that. And it is going to bring you to a little pop-out screen right in the middle, and it's going to let you, say whatever roadblock that you've encountered, or if there's some sort of other challenge that you've identified within the system that you want to let us know about. That's a great way to do it, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. If no one has any other questions, you are free to go. I will hang out here for the remaining 2 minutes. If anyone wants to ask any final questions, you're all more than welcome to come off mute. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining me, and I hope you learned something today.
Hey, Joe. I
Hey,
have
Paul.
a thought.
Mhm.
So this, so if I wanted to do something, a KPI of just say, revenue per employee. So I could do that, but the formula would actually live on my spreadsheet, I don't input a formula into your software. Is that correct? I just input the data into your software.
Right. We actually do. We do formula-driven metrics where you can essentially take something like, average contract value and something, maybe another KPI here that relates to revenue per employee. And you can you can actually combine those together within the software to create a revenue per employee calculation. So I can actually just show you.
Yeah.
So if I want to take average contract value, so how do you determine revenue per employee? We can actually just build it out as specific as possible.
Well, it's for my clients, not necessarily for me. I'm an advisor for clients on this stuff. But if you just revenue, so I would just do gross revenue by sales employee. That's really what I meant. So let's say if I had 15 salespeople and my gross revenue was, let's just say as a number, $3 million.
All right. Yeah, I don't know if this is going to be a perfect fit for this, but let me just show you what you could do in theory here. So now I've created this gross revenue card and I've created this revenue per employee card, and what I could do if this pertained was I could go ahead and I could hit add metric right at the top as I've been, and I could say revenue per employee, right? Now, what I can do as a value source, I can come right here and I can say formula. So now I'm going to take gross revenue, right? And I want to add it to I can't find that one, so I'm just going to use this one because just imagine this works. This is pertaining. Now I'm just going to validate it and I'm going to save it. And so now when I hit save, I have this new card right here that is taking two previously existing KPIs that I'm updating on their own independently. And as I update those two KPI cards, this revenue per employee card is updating. So theoretically, you could build out a KPI card you could build out a KPI card for every single person on the sales team, and have them keep up to date with whether it was their sales profit or whatever it was, and roll it into a formula-driven metric.
Okay, great. I appreciate the help. I got to jump to this other call that's coming in, but I appreciate it, Joe. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yep. Take care. All right. Well, that's that.
Yeah, that was good. I'm glad we got a bunch of people on there.